Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas. It's presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the voice of boxing, legendary trainer, Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
I'm good, Ken. It's good to see you. What are you? You've been visiting, you're building the Chrysler building? That was a nice design, the Chrysler. Is that the Chrysler building behind you?
Yes.
Yeah, you mixed it up again.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it's nice to own the Louvre, you know, right?
Next on the hit list.
Louvre, the great museum of great art and great history. It's nice to be able to just open a door and there you are. It's like it's your living room. It's beautiful. We're happy for you.
Thank you, Teddy. Hey, we've got a lot of action to discuss from this weekend. I'm sure that you're excited to get after it. We're going to touch on the UFC at the end of this episode, but first, obviously, we're going to jump right into the meat of the subject, the meat of the weekend, and that was the Loma Lopez fight on ESPN, free ESPN. And before we get to the main event, I know there's a couple things you just wanted to touch on with the co-main and Saucedo versus Barboza. So I'll turn it over to you. What'd you see there in terms of the action and the scoring?
It bothered me that you want to call it shilling, you want to call it blinders, you want to call it blinkers, you want to call it just taking care of your own. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I look at myself with this position in the same way I did for 25 years at ESPN, that I have a platform to not only get, my voice out there and to get a paycheck, but, at ESPN, I could just clock in and clock out. But like some people too, I decided, no, I'm going to use the platform to make sure that somebody rights the ship when the ship needs to be righted. Somebody says something, because we don't have a national commission of boxing. So it takes somebody's voice, whether it makes a difference or not, to attempt to make a difference, to right the wrongs. And again, I'm no guy on a white horse coming in with a sword and I'm a hero. No, I'm no different than anyone else. I just make my choices like anybody else of what I think is important to me, what I want to do with things I can do, the things that are within my wheelhouse. And it's in my wheelhouse to do more than take a paycheck, to be able to be a voice when there's no other voices out there, to be able to say, hey, this decision's wrong. Hey, this is to try to better the sport, for the fans, for the athletes, for the people who risk the most when they get in that ring, where you leave that ring with less of yourself every time you leave that ring, or at least there's a risk of leaving yourself or leaving the ring with less of yourself every time you leave those ropes. So again, what's that old saying? Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to, and I'm not making myself anything special other than I can. And I think it's important, if you can, to do it, to bring attention to things that can make the sport better for the athletes, for the fans, again, for the great sport. And when I was watching Saucedo and Barboza, it was one of those things that happens in this sport, and it bothers you, or it bothers me, and it should bother everybody, is where one guy's getting treated better than the other. They're both risking the same. They're both human beings. They're both fighters. They're both noble at what they do, which is to go in there and find out who's the better man. Go in there and find out who can carry a torch into those dark caves of ourselves and come out on the other side better for it. Yeah. And that should be respected. That should be honored to the extent that it should be honored. And I think that both should have a fair shake. And I'm watching this fight with Saucedo and Barboza, and the people calling the fight, it's really like Barboza who was the undefeated fighter, I guess the house fighter, the guy that they figured would win, maybe the guy they want to win, but whatever. I'm just saying, you would have thought he was in the ring alone, shadowboxing. You would have thought that the Saucedo wasn't there. Matter of fact, I sent out a tweet that Saucedo's nickname should be Claude Rains. Ken, tell everybody who Claude Rains was, just for the youngsters out there, that might not go that far back.
He's AKA the Invisible Man.
There he is. He was the first invisible man on television. And I mean, that Saucedo must have been invisible. That's the only explanation I can come up with, other than the reality of I know what they were doing. I know what they were doing.
I was gonna say that's the picture they're painting. They don't want you to see the good work he's putting in, and they don't want to, even if it's subconscious, because I think those guys are good people on that called the fight for the most part. And I don't know if it's subconscious, but it's like they don't want you to see the good work that Saucedo's doing, and it doesn't get highlighted. I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, but it was obviously taking place.
Yeah, listen, I'm not calling anybody a criminal. I'm not calling anybody, a bad person. They have to decipher that, what they are. People have to decipher that, not me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a professional standpoint, you have to be non-biased. It came off. I'm not saying it was. Because to me, I always go by, even if someone says something a little bit bad, I go, what's the intent? Was the intent to be mean? Was the intent to be criminal? Was the intent to be false and misleading? If that wasn't the intent, even if it's something inappropriate, I give them a margin for excuse, if you will. I give them the better of, I give them a pass. I do. But, so I don't know that. And I don't think it was anything other than them just doing what becomes automatic when you have one horse in the race that's your horse. That's, the network's horse, the promoter's horse, whatever. And maybe it just becomes automatic. But it's not fair to Saucedo. He fought a hell of a good fight. He fought a heck of a good fight. I mean, for me, I tweeted that it was a little bit like Meldrick Taylor and Julio Cesar Chavez, the great Julio Cesar Chavez, years ago, junior welterweight champ and lightweight champion. But years ago, when they were fighting on network, I think it was HBO, and it was a great fight. And the sharper guy was Meldrick Taylor. The faster, he had the lead. But Chavez was the heavier handed, and he was doing damage. And that was kind of Barboza. And Saucedo was a little sharper. And I thought he was carrying some rounds. And, he's dictating the fighting spots. And kind of like the Meldrick Taylor fight with Chavez, which was an iconic fight it turned out to be, Chavez warmed down. Barboza was starting to wear him down and won the late rounds. But, like I said, Saucedo wasn't being given credit for what he was doing. And at the end of the day, it didn't ring fair. And again, I'm not the sheriff. I'm not the police. But this sport doesn't have a sheriff. It doesn't have a police. So if I can fill that void that I think in my heart and my mind that something needs to be said, I'm going to say it, damn it, to hope that it's going to make things a little better. Not that I know everything that's right. I don't claim to know that. But I know some. And at the end, the commentator said, it was funny, instead of saying Saucedo, did anything or fought a good fight, he said he almost made an excuse for Barboza. I don't even know if it was almost. How do you take what I'm about to repeat? I think it's pretty much verbatim, Ken, where at the end of the night, after not giving really any credit to Saucedo, he says, Barboza,
Barboza.
Barboza, I'm sorry. I never was confused with Orson Welles, ever. But that's why one of the reasons I'm so happy to have you there, a college grad. Thank you. At the end of the night, he says, Barboza, I think Barboza allows Saucedo to hit him just to show the audience that he had a good shin. What? I mean, what?
You do that when you have street fights too, right? You let the guy get a few licks in so it doesn't look too one-sided after you beat the crap out of him. Yeah, I let him punch me in the mouth a couple times, bloody me up a little, just to make him feel good about himself. Last time I checked, when you get into a fight, you want to win at all costs, period, and take as little damage as possible.
Like De Niro said. Like De Niro said in the movie Goodfellas, I think it was, where he said, you insult him a little bit. A little bit. Nah. You insult him a little bit. I mean, it sounds like a little bit of an excuse. I mean, is that where we been brought to that place? Sports is supposed to be an escape from all the crap. We shouldn't bring more crap to it. It's supposed to be an escape from that crap. A purity to it. Sport! We shouldn't be bringing in excuse where you have to have somebody. What are we in a courtroom? We have lawyers. we got lawyers making excuses for people, saying, the reason why I think he got hit that much is because he just wanted to get hit that much. He wanted to show everyone that he had a good shin. I don't think so. I didn't bring this to be knocking someone. No. And for the people out there that are going to say, but you did. Yeah. Because I also didn't want to see a fighter get knocked either. I didn't want to see a fighter get his credit taken away. Let him get his freaking due. Anyway, I said my piece. Bring us, baby. Bring us to the mountain. Bring us to that great place that took place on ESPN, free TV, Saturday night. Bring us to glory. Bring us to the Holy Land.
That's the one everyone's waiting for. Loma Lopez. First of all, I just want to give a huge congratulations to Teofimo Lopez. Awesome performance. I know a lot of people have different storylines here from Loma's inactivity in the first 6 rounds, but I would say to that, there's a reason why someone's being inactive is when they're being active, they're getting countered or they're getting punched. And Lopez deserves a ton of credit. I thought it was the right decision that he won the fight, but obviously 119-109 from Julie Letterman. I don't know which fight she was watching. I don't know how you could make an argument that Loma didn't win 7 through 11. And again, all credit to Lopez. There's no doubt he won the fight, in my view. Loma looked like a different person after the fight. His face was a mess. He's looked rattled to me. And, the fans know we're big Loma fans. But massive credit to Lopez. The judges probably should be arrested, or at least Julie Letterman. But with that said, everyone wants to know what you think, and as do I.
Well, the other judges, she should probably go away, for a term. But the other judges should get at least weekends in again. Give them weekends, really. Weekends at Rikers. Or we'll never see them again if they, that would straighten them out, wouldn't it? That would, that would probably straighten them out from being that frivolous or whatever you want to call it, reckless or not caring or whatever. I had a saying I started on ESPN many, many years ago when somebody said, "What do you think it is, Ted, with these bad decisions?" I said, well, it's not like multiple choice. It could only be one of 2 things. It's not that complex. It's either incompetence or corruption. What else could it be? And one of the things I used to say is, when these people are that bad, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving human beings too much credit. But I say, you can't be that incompetent. You can't be that blind. You can't be that much of a dodo bird. I mean, I don't know. I didn't come here to knock anybody, but I guess you have to sometimes, you know. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, baby. And, you know, and sometimes you have to, it's like they earn the right to get knocked. I didn't come on here to say, well, Saturday, I didn't say, Monday when we do the podcast for this show, I'm looking to knock. No, that wasn't my intent. I was praying that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't come into play. Praying. Just a good fight to talk about. But, you know, no. Again, 1 round for Lomachenko. First of all, let's get this thing blasted. I'm going to read you my scorecard. Let's start there. Beautiful way to start. First round, Lopez. Second round, I gave it to Lomachenko. Bang! That's where we start to. You got to think of it now, because I thought he won that round, and that's where and that was it. That was it for a while. Then you could go, you could go on a retreat and come back later. Go on a Vatical, come back later, and then Loma's back in the fight again, but not for a while. So that's a big differentiating moment for me, and obviously the lot of the scorecards. But anyway, Lopez first round, Lomachenko second, and then just a landslide. Lopez in third, Lopez fourth, Lopez fifth, Lopez sixth, and then again, this is a little different. Some people thought maybe he started, but you agreed with me. You thought he started to seventh. I thought Lomachenko started that comeback in the seventh. Seventh, and all 10-9 rounds, obviously. Seventh, Lomachenko. Eighth, Lomachenko. Ninth, Lomachenko. 10th, Lomachenko. 11th. I don't think you could argue that one. Lomachenko. And then, here's the one. For me, it didn't. In the end, it didn't matter because the guys that count on the scorecards had it so far apart, it didn't matter. For me, this was the big round. After taking 5 straight rounds, Lomachenko, the number one pound for pound, going into this contest in the world, or number 2, wherever you had him, Crawford, him, for me. After he takes 5 straight rounds, here was the question I was asking and looking to have answered going into the 12th, Ken, from my eyes, from my perspective, from where I look at things. This is the moment for Lopez. This is it. For him, after losing 5 straight rounds to this great fighter, being tested, will he now put his flag into that ground? Will he now behave like a champion? That was the moment. Will he, in that 12th round, the championship rounds, in that last round, will he come out and say, damn it, hell no! I stopped the tide. I stemmed the tide right now. Right now! And I show why I'm the man tonight. I show why I chose to be champion of the world. Right now. And I turn it around. I take control again after having lost control of the rhythm of the fight, after having the rhythm of the fight early on. And Lopez did that, and he wins the 12th round. And for me, on my scorecard, you know how to do math. That makes it 114-114 a draw. Now, if you want to throw out, you want to take away my second round, or you want to
That's the only round I think that someone could make an argument versus what you just said. Is the second round is a swing round, I think, for a lot of people. And on social media, I saw all the pundits had that as a swing round. I saw some journalists, well-respected journalists, giving it to Lopez and an equal amount giving it to Loma. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you give it to Lopez.
115, 113 it becomes.
Yep.
For Lopez. I don't have a problem.
I don't
say
either.
it again for people with potatoes in their ears. I don't have a problem with that. I think that the only guy who could have won a fight was Lopez very close.
Agreed.
Other than an argument for a draw. And so that's it. Let's get that very clear.
Hey guys, want to take a minute to give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Full disclosure, I'm an investor in this company. I've used the product. I like it so much. I actually invested with them. PowerDot, it promotes circulation to help muscles recover quickly between fights and workouts. Relieves pain by stimulating nerves. It's an excellent rehab tool for injuries. So if you have a knee or an ankle or a shoulder injury and you want to work the muscles around the injured joint, this device basically stimulates the soft tissue around the injury, preventing you from having to put load on the injured joint. It's invaluable for recovery from injuries for sure, and it's an awesome recovery tool. Like I said, I've been using this thing for a long time. Lance Armstrong turned me onto it a couple of years ago. One of the new features is the Smart Recovery. They integrate with Strava and Apple Health, tracks your workouts, and provides customized recovery programs based on your personal activities, pulling in all the data from Apple Health and Strava. Invaluable. If you're into working out and you use those tools already, you can probably appreciate how significant that is. It guides you through each program. The app is incredibly intuitive. Athletes love this thing. It's used by some of the world's top athletes. I personally gave this to Dustin Poirier, Regis Prograis. They love it. I mean, a lot of different athletes from a lot of different sports I know have used this product successfully. Our suggestion from the fight with Teddy Atlas is that you try the Pro Bundle. You get the Duo plus 3 extra sets of pads. It stimulates 2 areas at once. Spend less to help, which will lead to you spending less time recovering. Save $25 plus an additional 20% off with the promo code ATLAS, ATLAS. Additionally, they'll give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't see results and you don't like the product in the first 30 days, send it back, no questions asked, full refund. Again, PowerDot's giving 20% off to all listeners of the with the code ATLAS. Do your body a favor, go to powerdot.com/Atlas and experience personalized muscle recovery.
Now, what was the reason and the cause behind the analysis of what was going on, why it happened. First off, I picked Lomachenko to win this fight. I know some of you guys will get, Teddy, when are you going to tell us? Some of you little, I don't have any haters out there, do I? I'm going to make believe I don't. It's a good world. Good people out there. I don't have no haters. But I got a few people out there that, they get a little whatever. And I understand,
Teddy, you know what that reminds me of? People's reaction after the fight that were picking Lopez is how strong of a drug affirmation is. When they were affirmed that they picked Lopez, now all of a sudden, they're the guru. They're the, boxing experts. I told you guys, I knew it. Come on, man. It's a 50-50
You know what
chance.
I call it? No problem. Part-time work.
Yeah.
Part-time work, baby. Try it full-time. Part-time work.
Yeah.
Part-time work. No problem. Boy, that Teddy, he always has to say something at the end. I'm just saying. It's fine. I mean, again, I'll use another movie. Jerry Maguire. I look up the part where, Robert, get it up. Look up the part. You're going to like this, Ken. Look up the part where the Cubas Jr., the football player, and of course the agent was Tom Cruise, where he finally has his day. Kind of like Lopez. And he's got his day. He made that big catch. He played that game. And he's on with Firestone, the commentator. He's on some TV show. And he's happy. And he says, and this is what I'm saying to the guys that, not haters, but, what I'm talking about, that have to sometimes put their little forks into me, into whoever's there. At least it's not a knife. It's just a fork. If it's a knife, it's a butter knife. So it's okay. But this is for them. When DeCubas Jr. says, the football player that he's playing, he says...
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, Cuba Jr. says thanks, Ken. I need you, baby. You keep me on track. He says, I love yous out there. I love to all my love. And that's what I'm saying. All my love to everybody. And even my brother out there who can be a little militant. I love it. Well, even my brother, who can be a little militant at times, I got nothing but love for you. I got nothing love for you. Same thing to you guys. Same thing. I know you're with me. I know you're with us. I do. I believe that. I want to believe that. So at the end of the day, you know, I picked the wrong guy. But I will just say that I said it would be a decision. And I also, and again, no excuse. I picked the wrong guy. I picked Loma. Loma is not Lopez, even though it starts with the first two letters. I get it. But I said, and this was never mentioned all night, that Lomachenko, for me, my eyes had told me he was getting a little old. And for me, he got a little old. I'm not making excuses for him. He still did some brilliant stuff, and he still behaved like a champion, just like Lopez. But I had seen that he was getting a little old. I think the way I put it, Ken, was he was starting to, a shadow was starting to touch him. And that shadow showed a little bit more that night for me. And also, the other guy was so big. How could you watch that fight and not, and I didn't hear nobody really say it, but not say like, oh my God. We've been talking about he's the bigger, younger guy, 9 years younger, but wow, look how much bigger he looks. And to me,
it was massive, the size difference, and I didn't want to bring it up and sound like we were making excuses because we liked Loma going into the fight, but my God, I mean, it looked like Lopez looked like a giant in there.
And listen, to his credit, there's an old saying, Ken, see, in the old days, there was a lot of catchweight fights where the smaller man would step up and fight the bigger man. And it was always an argument, who's better, the bigger man or smaller man? Well, when the good little man fights the good big man, well, then the good big man usually can have an advantage. The difference is, and there's been a history where so many little men have beaten the good big men. And where that comes in is when the little man is great. Where the little man is great or very good, and the big man is only good, only okay. To credit Lopez, the big man was better than good. And then he had the advantage. The big man showed he could box. The big man showed he had a hand speed. The big man showed he was more than just a puncher. And I want him to get all that credit. And I also said that it was, even though I was picking Loma, I said it's a dangerous fight. And it was a dangerous fight. And here's where the danger was throughout the first 6 rounds, where you could give all 6, or if you're me, you give 5 of those 6, and it made the big difference in the scoring or whatever. You give them to Lopez, because it wasn't that he hit him, but it was so apparent that the speed and the power was there. Loma felt it. He knew it. He realized it. And that's what made him cautious. The layoff didn't help either. The 14, 13-month layoff, that didn't help him. Again, no excuses, but it didn't help Loma to get a better start.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you about. If you're in the corner of Loma and clearly he's trying to get into the flow of the fight and he's obviously very cerebral, he's trying to get the range, figure out what Lopez is doing. After the 3rd round, 4th round, are you telling him, like, dude, you got to get busy. We can't afford to give away these rounds, which we could very well be doing.
I got the answer for you.
Go ahead.
I believe I'm on a button with this one. I know the father. He's a very cerebral guy. I think he's a great trainer, professor. He's done a hell of a job. And listen, the father of Lopez did a hell of a job too. And Joey Gamache, I mentioned in the fight plan, was going to help. And I think he did.
I was going to tell you that, Teddy. I want to come back to that at the end and talk about Joey Gamache, because to me, that might have been the X factor.
Well, I think it was. And I gave him credit ahead of time for that, because I know Joey. Yes. I trained Joey at the end of his carear.
No, I know you did, but I want to make sure we give him all the credit.
Yeah, I think he's a good, solid trainer with fundamentals. I think that he helped with a good fight plan. And part of that fight plan was to use the jab. which was so important. Not just to behave like the big puncher. Yeah, be the big puncher, but don't act like that's all you are. Use the jab like a good boxer would to keep Loma, to keep him in place, to keep him stabilized, to keep him under control, to give him something to worry about. If he just went in there looking for big bombs, it would have been a lot easier for Lomachenko. A lot easier.
100%. Definitely.
So I think, and to control range. I think Joey was part of that. And the father's part of that. They all get credit from me. But what I think the answer to your question, why didn't someone say, hey, get going now, third round, fourth round? I really, truly, they knew the risk. They being a father and a son. Lomachenko his father. And I believe that Lomachenko's father thought it was going according to plan. Now, stay with me now. Because the most important thing was, yeah, you want to win rounds, don't get me wrong, and you want to win the fight. And you want to have an idea how to get to that final result. But to get to that final result, it starts with the reality of not getting caught. And not getting caught early by this big guy who can punch and who has fast hands. So I believe the plan was put into place by Lomachenko and his father that we're going to give away rounds. It's okay. Because the ends are going to justify the
ends will justify the means.
Yeah, the ends will justify the means. Where we're going to lose the battle, but we're going to win the war. We're going to lose some battles, but we're going to win the war. I think that was their thinking. We understand the risk and the danger. We're going to deal with that first. That's going to be on the front end, not the back end, the front end. Because we don't get to the back end if we don't respect that on the front end. We don't even get there. We get caught and it's over. So we're going to give away those rounds. And we're going to make sure we don't get caught. And we're going to be looking. We're going to be peeking. We're going to be, analyzing. We're going to be looking at the defense, kind of like I used to say on ESPN all the time, with a Lomachenko, I say he's the kind of guy that goes up, like Peyton Manning goes up to the line, and he checks out the defense. And then he calls audibles. He's got good eyes. He sees the field. I know. Hey, for those people who thought I was there broadcasting that night, saying that, I wasn't. But anyway, so having said that, where was I? I remiss. I regress.
Digress.
I regress. So now we go. It's great that I can have my own grammar teacher as I give boxing lessons to people. I God bless you. Where would I be without you? I wouldn't be as happy, or as correct with my grammar. So now, here he is, looking, making sure he don't get caught, really living up to the fight plan. I know a lot of fans are going to be saying, really, Ted? Trust me, he was living up, losing rounds. They knew it. They're not stupid, but not getting caught and looking for weaknesses, looking for something they could exploit later. And one other thing, part of their plan, to tire him out. It didn't quite work, but to tire him out, to drag him into deep waters like the old saying goes and drown them later. That's what they were trying to do. It wasn't a miscalculation. Believe me, they were trying to do that. And did they go too long with it? I'm going to say this. Maybe, yeah, I guess, but it didn't matter. Because even when they started to now march up that hill and call the infantry and call the troops, now we're taking the hill. Now we're going. Now we're hitting the beach. When they started to do that, Ken, they didn't get credit for it anyway, to the extent that they needed to. Because if they did, it would have been a draw. Or very close to a draw, which it wasn't. So, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. But that was their plan, to tire him out, to look for weaknesses, not to get caught, drag him into the late part of the fight, and then start to put it on him. And they did. They carried out the plan. Again, maybe they should have started a little earlier, but they carried out. That was a plan. It wasn't a miscalculation. I guarantee you. It wasn't. And then The thing that really made the difference was the boxing abilities of Lopez. He controlled range. He used his size more than just with power. He used it with range, with the longer arms, with the jab, with control and range. He created a scenario where, I talk about it all the time, where you had to buy real estate to get close to him. You had to buy real estate to get in. Loma, being a shorter guy, smaller guy, had to buy real estate to get in. You had to make ground. You had to move forward. And you charge a price for that real estate. It's not money. It's not like $10 a square foot, $100 a foot. It's like 3 punches a foot.
A punch in the mouth per foot.
Well, yeah, it's expensive. And Lopez was doing that. And his team, his brain trust, where they were controlling range, using a jab, stabilizing Loma, not letting him really get his bearings, keeping him a little discombobulated, something coming at him, keep him thinking, keep him off balance, and controlling range where if he does try to get in, you got something for him. You got a quick punch, right hand, a hook, or right uppercut, whatever. And even though they weren't landing clean, what kept him hesitant from taking that hill a little sooner for Loma was the threat. It wasn't the power. Like I said, it's a dangerous fight. But the threat of the power was dangerous because it kept Lomachenko in check. It kept him hesitant. It kept him defensive. It kept him on guard. And that threat of power was there because of all the things he did from a boxing standpoint. The jab, control and range, being able to time him on his way in, to snap off a quick uppercut when he tried to come in. The threat of that made it real, where Loma said, oh, shoot. No wonder my father told me to be real careful. It's there. It's true. There are landmines, like taking the beach at Normandy. There are our great army. Our armed service people. Again, I thank you, all of you, that I could be doing this podcast because of you guys. And our fans could be listening because of you guys. And Ken could be correcting my grammar because of you guys.
I don't mean to keep sounding like I'm correcting you.
God bless you. Look, and instead of speaking in German, I'm speaking in as good of English as I'm capable of. But at least it's English. So again, it was like taking those shores at Normandy. You got to look out for landmines. You got to look out for the bombs coming in, the shells that being dropped in, the machine gun, coming out on the beach. And it reminded Lomachenko that those weapons were there, that those risks, those dangers were there. So that kept him in his place. And then finally he was forced, to say, okay, we got to go up the hill now. Risk or no risk, we got to go up this damn hill. And he started to do it. And as I said, I thought he pulled it into a draw. But I have no problem with, my problem was with the disparity of the scores, And another thing that's going to be up there that the great Rob, my friend and partner and our friend and producer of the show that we appreciate. Sometimes he doesn't hear it enough. I try to make sure he does. But going to have up there a picture that earlier in the night there was a fight that took place in London, Ken, that you're aware of. I sent out a text on it when I saw it. And I made a mistake at first. I set the wrong network. And there it is. Look at that judge. This was
I just want to make sure that this guy gets his just due. That's Terry O'Connor from the British, licensed by the British Boxing Commission or whatever they call their overseers there. But that's Terry O'Connor judging a fight, looking at his damn phone. How he could even want to judge another fight after being caught doing this? Have some respect, dude. Like, honestly, I try not to get too emotional about these things, but have some integrity. Get out of there. If you're too busy to watch the damn fight that you're getting paid, you got a ringside seat, I guarantee you there's every single person listening to this show is saying to themselves, I'll do that job for free. I'll pay you to be a judge, and I'll watch every second of every fight. This guy's getting paid to judge a fight that's incredibly important to the two guys in the ring, and he can't be bothered. He's texting. I'd love to know, Teddy, what the hell is he texting? Tell me he's betting on the line, betting on the fight live, like just for an extra kick in the balls. Yeah, he's betting live, and he's going to give the judge to the house the score to the house fighter overwhelmingly, which many pundits disagreed with. I will say I didn't watch the whole fight, so I've only seen clips of it, so I don't know. I'm just telling you that there's a lot of controversy around the decision, but this guy, this is so unacceptable. You should be ashamed of yourself, Terry O'Connor. You should step down and never judge another fight. If you're that busy, there's nothing going on. We're in a pandemic, and you're going to text during a fight and totally crap on these two guys in the ring like you can't be bothered. 36 minutes, you got to pay attention, you buffoon. Pick it up, Teddy.
Well, you sound like me.
It's just unacceptable, man. If you get caught doing that, you have to say, hands up.
I agree with you.
You got me. I effed up. I don't deserve this seat. Give it to someone who cares.
You know where he messed up the most? I'll tell you where he messed up the most. He only wore the mask at the bottom for the COVID. He should have had a whole... He should have had the whole thing. You like a whole mask over his face, the head, the eyes, everything. Just like if you're robbing a bank or something.
Should have turned his back to the ring. Don't even watch. Well, really, cut the shit. We know you're not paying attention.
At least if he had a full mask, like one of those monster masks, or Halloween. Halloween's coming up. Maybe he could have got away with it. Say, hey, look, I'm celebrating Halloween early. I'm coming in with a full mask. Then at least we wouldn't be able to recognize this son of a gun. At least he could have gotten away with that part of it.
Where, it really is a disgrace.
Where the whole world wouldn't know who the freak this idiot is.
Imagine an NBA or NFL ref doing that, Teddy. You said that before we started. Can you imagine a mainstream sport referee texting even during a timeout? Never mind during the game. This guy is texting in the middle of a round.
Imagine an NBA ref running up and down the court with a cell phone, peeking at the cell phone as he's running alongside LeBron James,
taking a phone call.
I mean, really, that. Nobody else.
It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't even happen in another sport. The guy would be like, "We have to
jump on it. We have to say it." I listen. Really, it's absurd. It's beyond absurd. It's the reason why I called for a national commission. It's Exhibit A. Well, at this point, it's Exhibit Z. Z as in zebra. Because I've had so many exhibits through the years of why we should have a national commission, why I get so intense, why I get so upset, why I get so crazy, because they hurt the sport, they destroy the sport, they chase fans, and they hurt the fighters because he had the wrong decision, everyone says. Even the promoter, to his credit, Eddie Hearn, that night said that I believe his fighter was involved, obviously, in the fight, and even he said that he gave it to the wrong guy, which was Eddie Hearn's guy, I believe, the promoter's guy. So the promoter's being really the way you would want him to be, and hope that everyone in boxing could somehow be that. He was being honest. He said, my guy didn't win it. This idiot, he should be thrown out of the sport, and he obviously gave it to a guy that... Again, Eddie Hearn, who was getting the benefit of getting the decision to his guy, said it was wrong. So
the guy should be forced, Teddy. That guy should be forced to tell us what was so important.
Well, yeah, but that's why
I want to know what he was texting.
But we don't have a national commission to bring him to
or in
justice,
this case,
so
an international commission, because this one was in the UK. But this guy, exactly. Man, I want to know what he was texting.
It should be the way in boxing, whether it's across the pond with our beautiful fans over there, abroad, or it's here, that domestically. That it should be a commission that takes charge of such things, that lays down laws about everything and enforces those laws. Instead of these weak, ridiculous commissions sometimes from state to state that are omnipotent. They don't do crap. So, and they have relationships. That's the problem with the promoter. They have relationships with the managers. It's absurd. There's no separation of church and state in boxing. None. And therefore, you got the people that are making money, that are friendly with the people supposedly in charge of enforcing the rules. How does that work? It can't work. You need a national commission. You need a czar. You need policing. There should be a sheriff in town. There's no sheriff anywhere. It's still the Wild Wild West. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's 2020, and we're still talking about things like the Wild Wild West. It's absurd. It's terrible. It hurts the fighter because by getting the wrong decision, by getting a corrupt decision there, the fighter that gets the bad end of that because of the behavior of this judge, again, I've said it before, he's got to go back in the line to get back to where he was. You know what that entails, going to the back of the line? Ken, you know what it entails. I've said it many times. Thousands of punches to face again to get back to that place that you earned already. Because
and not even in the fights, just the extra camps and all the sparring involved.
Everything. That's why I say thousands of punches, because it's incurred during camp. It's incurred during the fights. You have to
and Teddy, one quick thing, though, to put into perspective and give some context. It's easy for us, people listening to it, and they just move on with their day and nothing changes as per usual. But just take a second to put yourself in this position of the guy who lost the fight. Not only do you get a bullshit decision, but you got to look at pictures, and the storyline of the entire fight is that the judge didn't even have enough respect for you to watch the fight. He completely disregarded, and I know it sounds cliche, but for argument's sake, I think you could easily argue that this guy, whether or not he physically filled out the scorecard before the fight or fudged his way through it, in his mind, he clearly already knew what the decision was going to be because he didn't even care to watch the fight. It's disgraceful. The poor guy who gets the loss. Put yourself in his shoes. Pretend it's your son, your brother, your best friend. All of a sudden now it has a lot more implications.
But to my 100%. But to my final point, at the end of the day, why I've been screaming about this kind of behavior and injustice in this sport for 25 years on ESPN. I was doing TV before ESPN and radio, so I don't know how many years that I've been railing for this, against this. But at the end of the day, you're hurting the athlete. You're hurting the nobleness and the risk. The nobleness that he goes in there to fight somebody in a fair domain. Find out who's the better man. Who can face their shortcomings, their weaknesses, and find a way to be better. We all want to be better as human beings, I hope. And that's what fighters are basically saying. I'm going to go in that ring tonight and be better. I'm going to face my shortcomings, my weaknesses, my inhibitions, all these things that have haunted me, maybe people said about me when I was young, and maybe mistakes I made. I'm going to make it right. Tonight I'm going to make it right. I'm going to make the world right. I'm going to even the playing field. I have it in my heart, my soul, my chest, my strength, my mind, to go in there and make things right, to correct the things that I have the power to correct tonight, to be the best I can be, and to be an example to people that you can make things right. You can. You can make them right when they've been wrong. You can be better when you've been less. And they go in there and they do that. It's noble. It's even courageous. And then you got some freaking idiot, whether it's a guy on a cell phone or whether it's a corrupt judge or an incompetent judge or a judge who likes the other guy or a judge who has a relationship with the promoter and have made it clear to the judge that the promoter wants his guy to win tonight. Otherwise, you're not going to work again because the promoter has that kind of influence over who works as judges. Yeah, that's the reality of this. And then you go and you do that and you take everything that the fighter put on the line, you flush it down the toilet. Everything, all the risks that he put out there, everything that's noble that I just described, that he wants to accomplish and that he works so hard to do for the benefit of himself, his legacy, his family, and even us, that we can learn from it. And you take that all away because there's some weak-minded, either incompetent or corrupt judge. It's criminal. It's wrong. And it's been wrong for too long. For way too long. And that's why I always went crazy over it. Because that's the bottom line. That fighter suffers. That fighter has everything that he should have that was good taken away from him. And what does he do? He gets put back into a prison of what could have been, what should have been, what was supposed to be. Back into that kind of prison with it might as well have freaking cell blocks. It might as well have bars in front of it. And now he's got to go through all that work, all that torture, all that risk, all that pain to get back to where he was that night. And maybe never get back. It's unforgivable. And again, I don't mean to make it funny, but if I saw a picture of Letterman with a phone, at least I would have known why the judge, she only gave one round. I mean, really. I wonder if maybe her phone was where she hit it better. And I know that she didn't have a phone. I'm just making a point. I'm just pissed.
To tie it back to the Loma fight, Teddy, I'd love to hear her honestly sit down. I think she owes it to the fans and the fighters, including Lomachenko. He didn't deserve to hear someone say that he won one round. I don't care. Lopez's father, Lopez himself, there's no frickin' way that they think that they won 11 of those rounds. And it's just, I would love for her to have to explain how 7 rounds, 7 through 11, she only thinks that Loma won one fight. What did he not do enough of, or what did Lopez do to win all those rounds? Because it's criminal.
If she was on her phone,
maybe,
or even this idiot that was on the phone, I got to get out of this with a little bit of, even though there's no place for humor, but a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, because it gets you depressed, really, because nobody does anything. But I wonder what kind of plan he had. I wonder if it was Verizon and if he got 3 minutes. Maybe Letterman had a better plan. Maybe a plan where, those phones are so complex now. I finally got rid of my flip phone, I begrudgingly admit. But maybe you got a special phone where you don't have to have it in your hand. You just, you have it maybe underneath a pad or something, or on the floor, and maybe it whispers in your ear and tells you,
We're joking about it, Teddy, but all kidding aside, what if it turns out O'Connor was on my bookie and betting the fight live, and as the live line is shifting towards the underdog, he's just continuing to load up on the favorite.
That's why we need a national commission, because
how do we
when
not know?
The NBA had a similar situation with the referee. What was his name? Donnelly or Rob will look it up. And that was some years ago, right? And the guy was betting on games. And what they do, the NBA knows that the sport cannot afford to be underneath that kind of cloud of suspicion where the integrity of the sport is questioned with gambling. So that's why Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame, because he risks the integrity of the sport of baseball. So they don't play around with that. But boxing does play around with it, because there's nobody there to say it can't happen. There's nobody there. And there he is. See, Rob's right on it, as I knew he would be. There he is. Tim, what is it? Tim Donaghy. And he was immediately, they investigated immediately like the FBI. They got to the bottom of it, and they removed that stain from the sport where fans could come back and trust the sport. There's nobody there to remove these stains. There's nobody there to do that in boxing, Ken, unfortunately. And so here you are, the integrity of the sport. You brought up a very valid possible point that it could be about gambling, and it's not even it's not going to be dealt with properly because there's nobody to really properly deal with it because the sport does not have that infrastructure, does not have it in the sport where there is a national commission, there is a policing, there is a structure to make sure these things don't happen and things similar to this in any way don't happen. Things that have been happening. There'll be something controversial about a bad decision next week. Guarantee you. Guarantee you. You won't have to wait.
To your point about how long this has been going on, never mind just the pros. What about Roy Jones, the robbery he suffered in the Olympics? What about the in the London games with the Azerbaijan fighter getting the win against the Japanese guy after getting knocked down 15 times? This is like even
and I got removed from ringside. I got removed by the AIBA. Believe me, I've been thrown out of better places. That's the truth. That's
my point. Even
I got removed by AIBA because I said it through a microphone similar to this on NBC. But that's okay.
And you imagine NBC was upset with you for pointing this out. Okay, Teddy, you can do the gold medal match, but you got to do it in a room closet in another building. We can't have you ringside.
They made believe they were behind me. They made believe, they asked me, Teddy, you know, we were at the finals finally. We've been there 3 weeks. We did 2 weeks of broadcasting, me and the great Bob Papa, who also does Golf Station stuff. He used to do HBO. He used to do ESPN with me. And he does the radio for the New York Giants football team. I mean, he really is great. And, you know, when we exposed this on the air and got removed from ringside by Dr. Wu.
As a reward for pointing it out, they let you watch the main event or the gold medals from a broom closet.
Yeah, they asked us. They asked us. They asked me. They said, Teddy, we stand behind you, whatever that means. And maybe that really literally means we stand behind you. I kind of like a guy to stand in front of me. Maybe maybe that's where it went bad. That they stood behind me. I didn't pick up on that. But anyway, maybe the word hiding is even better. So they said, we stand behind you, Ted. We're going to go, it's your choice. Either the last 2 weeks mean nothing, or you want to do the silver medal and the gold medal matches. That's all that's left for the next 2 days. You and Bob, you go into a studio. They called it a studio. You described it a little better. It was a broom closet. And you go in there and you do the fights from there instead of ringside, and you get the job complete. It's up to you. What do you want to do? All right, I want to deal.
Why was the ringside seat removed? Who was NBC to say you can't be ringside for pointing out there's corruption?
AIBA said we couldn't be there. Dr. Wu, he was there.
And by the way, they've been removed.
Oh, yeah.
And AIBA's been removed by the IOC. They're not even allowed to participate in the Olympics anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think if Al Capone was around, he'd be allowed to either. So I think it was appropriate. It took a little long. It took a while.
But it's crazy that when you pointed it out, immediately the punishment was for you. Okay, Teddy, good catch there. Now get out of the arena. We don't want you here. AIBA has mandated. Then when they get outed, oh, geez, I guess AIBA was corrupt. So they're kicked out of the entire Olympics.
What happened was, as long as we're on it and we say it the right way, they brought me into at the IBC. They had a van bring me and Bob over there, and then we were talking with the heads. It was the new head of NBC at the time. Ebersol had just stepped down. Ebersol I trusted, but this guy I didn't know. So I'm sure he wasn't used to being talked to this way, the head of NBC. But whatever, it's good to learn that you still live in a world where sometimes you do get called, whoever you are, whatever your title is, you still get called on things that other people get called on. They said, Teddy, what are you going to do? Will you do it? Or we're just going to wrap it up and forget about what we did next week? I said, no, here's the deal. I'll do it, but I want an agreement from you. Okay, what's that? I want you to agree that if I do it, and I'll shake your hand, I'll look you in the eye. I don't know if I can trust you. I could trust Ebersol. I have no idea if I could trust you, but I know how to find out. I'll make a deal with you. I'll call the fights with Bob, finish this up. You guys put a lot of money into it. But I want you to investigate immediately, have the IOC investigate Aiba immediately, and not do another Olympic boxing match until you fully investigate. Okay, he agreed. We shook hands. I kept my word. I went into the broom closet. You might be shocked, Ken. Are you sitting? Are you sitting? Are you sitting right now?
Yes.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure. I thought you might be doing your exercises. You're in great shape. You could have been doing your exercise. So what happens? They didn't keep their word. You believe that? You're going to fall down. They didn't keep their word. They didn't keep their word. They didn't have the IOC investigate. But years later, finally, we got rid of it. And at the end of the day, they got rid of Aiba. But again, the fight, that's, we didn't catch anybody on a phone in the Loma Lopez fight. But it's your guess why really, it's your guess. I'll call you Columbo if you could figure it out. I'll call you Sherlock Holmes. I'll call you Clouseau. I'll call you whatever you want to be called, Notre Dame. If you could just figure out something that we can't figure out here. We don't have the phone to explain why the judges were so off in their decisions and their numbers, in the scores that was so far in favor of Lopez. And again, we have no problem. Lopez won, no problem. But to have that disparity in scores, if you could figure it out, I don't know. I'll talk to somebody I know on TV and get you to be on a Columbo. Does Columbo still do shows? No. But if you could investigate and find out why the hell these judges and Letterman had scores that far apart, one round.
Teddy, can you imagine if Loma hypothetically in the 12th round came out and continued the blitz that he was putting on in the 11th and dropped Lopez, scored a knockdown, won a 10-8 round,
he still
lost by Letterman's card? Still would have been like he would have got 2 rounds plus the 10-8 round. I mean, it still would have been a blowout on Letterman's scorecard. Then we would have had huge problems.
But we still should.
Definitely with the score, but not with Lopez winning. There's no. I don't think anyone says a problem. But man, she's very lucky that didn't happen, because it would have shown a much brighter light. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is I thought it was interesting, given that Loma, it's widely been reported that he gave up a sizable amount of dough to make the match happen. And credit to both guys. Credit to Lopez, 23 years old, taking on who was widely considered the best fighter at any weight, to come up. And with Loma giving up the extra dough, not to have a rematch clause in there is quite shocking to me. As the champ and the unified belt holder, I was surprised that they didn't have a rematch clause. What are your thoughts on that?
You only get a rematch for the most part when it's a mandatory defense, and both guys had titles, so it wasn't a mandatory defense. But here's something, since you brought that up. Here's something that, again, it's boxing. Unfortunately, there's a lie out there. This was supposed to be, and it was, for all 4 belts. First time in a lightweight history, I believe, that somebody fought for 4 belts and unified those belts. And so Lopez right now, and again, sometimes things ain't what you think they are. They can be an illusion. Boxing has a lot of illusions and a lot of illusionists. Yeah, a lot of illusionists and promoters, and they get, they go along with it, with the networks go along with it because it works for them. But the illusion I'm talking about here, Ken, who right now is the only guy, and just answer straightforward, honest like you always do, really. And this is going out to the fans. A little something for you to know that, unfortunately, you don't know. Maybe you'd be better off if you didn't know. But I'm not here for that. I'm here to give you good news and give you all the news. So you're educated, you know the whole thing. And so the illusion or the thought right now is that Lopez is the unified only lightweight champ of the world right now. Correct or not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Guess what? It's not true. It's not true. No, it's not true.
I think they emailed the title belt to Devin Haney.
Well, it's not true. Because even though they promoted that to make it the event that it was, and even though they say that he's being Lopez is the unified, universal world champion for the lightweight division. Got all the belts. All the belts. Lie. There's a guy named Gervonta Davis. He's got a belt. There's a guy. There's a guy named Ivan Mendy. He's got a belt. So with all this, oh my goodness, I hate to bring the bad news and rain on somebody's parade, but the truth is the truth. I'm sorry. The truth has been something that I think it's important for all of us, I hope. But it's important to me as a broadcaster to be able, for all my years I've been doing this, to be able to have the respect and just the validity, the reputation means something, that you can be trusted by the audience. What do you have if you don't have trust with the audience as a commentator? I don't think you have anything. In anything. So it's important. It's important to have that. And it's important for me to have that. I don't want to make too much out of it, but as a parent, that your kids can trust what you say, that someday when you got to tell them, hey, listen, this is what you have the right to say it. You earned the right to say it. It wasn't just saying when it was convenient to tell the truth. You said, and what has it done for me? Hopefully it's given me a career where the fans at least respect that. They might not believe in, they might not like everything, but they know they can trust what I say. And that means everything to me. And it's been two sides to it. It's been the side where it's hurt me, too. It's hurt me with jobs. We don't have to get into it, but it has. It's hurt me with different... But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's important. It's important. It's something that you believe in, and you have to stick with it. And at this point in my life, I ain't freaking switching boats now. So the truth is that the WBA... I'll go right down the list, Ken. And I know you got it in front of you. You'll jump on as soon as I said it. But the WBA, Loma was the super champion. Okay? All right. Super champion. You can't make this crap up. But anyway, the world champion in the WBA, and still is today, by the way, is Gervonta Davis. I don't know. I mean, super duper boopa kaka kuka haka hoompa hapa. Gotta make a song out of him. My grandson is 3 years old. He makes songs out of everything. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make a song with him. Like I'm serious. Super. Hey, buddy, Joseph is name. Buddy, super do, and he'll get right in. He'll join right in. Super boopa boopa papa boopa. He might even say, because he's a smart kid, he just says things instinctively. Poo poo BWBA poo 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 poopa whatever. All right. So the world champion, so the super champion WBA was and is, well, not anymore, but was Loma. The world champion is Gervonta Davis, right? So he's still a champion. And he's fighting Leo Santa Cruz October 31st, right? That's on pay-per-view, by the way. I don't see that doing good numbers. I'm sorry, because the Charlo...
Imagine Loma Lopez is free, but Gervonta Davis against Leo Santa Cruz.
Well, they needed to be free to bring people back. ESPN was smart, because they had been doing terrible on their numbers. Terrible. And boxing
very
everywhere.
Fair, but
across the board,
Davis and Santa Cruz is not
right.
a pay-per-view.
But I agree. But across the board, boxing was getting killed. That's why the UFC, we were talking about it. Let's be honest.
Killed.
They were getting killed. They were putting crap on. They did have a good fight last week with Zapata and Barachek, but they were, that was almost by accident. But I
was going to say, that was just a lucky break.
But they were getting killed. This fight was important for ESPN and for boxing, quite frankly, to bring attention back to the sport that was lost. It was like putting those searchlights up in the air, those giant, powerful spotlights in the air. Years ago, you used to see them when a carnival was coming to town. So everybody would look to see where it was, and you'd go to, and you'd find it was the carnival, and you would search it out, or a new restaurant opening up. The lights brought your attention to that place. Well, that's what that's what. This was searchlights up in the sky to bring attention back to boxing, and it did. But the Charlo brothers, you know what they got? They got 68,000. I'll say it again, $75 a pop. They got 68,000 views with PPC with those guys over there for that show. That they lost a lot of money, Ken. They lost a lot. I'm glad. I know you're a good investor. I'm glad you didn't invest in that. I'm glad, really. I'm glad you didn't. Yeah, really. But
if those numbers are accurate, that is like a massive disappointment because I think like 400,000 is like kind of where people start to get pay attention.
We educate our fans here. We pull the curtain back. So Ivan Mendy is the light. Listen to this. Now again, it was supposed to be 4-4. This is it, right? One guy, as you said before, Lopez is supposed to be the only champion now on the planet for lightweight. But there's a man named Ivan Mendy. He's not bad. Is the lightweight gold world champion. Gold.
Oh, okay.
Not to be confused with copper. Not to be confused with plutonium.
What about the platinum champion? Is that ranked higher than gold?
No. Well, that's you.
Or
because
the pearl champion?
You're the platinum champion because I just said you are. And
that's how they get. That's how they're giving them out.
Well, yeah. I mean, and then the IBF champ was Teofimo Lopez. Okay, that's good. And the WBO was Loma was the champion. WBC.
WBC champ is Devin Haney.
Yeah, Devin Haney.
Loma is the franchise champ. Devin Haney is the legitimate WBC champ. Didn't beat anyone for that title. It was emailed to him.
So it was for 4 belts, right? But they left out 3. So what can I tell you?
And by the way, the WBC said when it was pointed out in the build up to this fight that actually you can't say that title is on the line because Devin Haney has that belt, and the WBC in explaining it said, well, Lomachenko petitioned us for the franchise belt, and all I could think was like, can you imagine Lomachenko sitting there being like, hey, Agus, we better get our petition into the WBC so that we can be the franchise and they can give my regular belt to Devin Haney. I'm sure that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Well, let's just put out what you just said. Agus is the manager.
Crap is that?
Agus is the manager for Lomachenko. And listen, I want to propose another title. May I have the floor, Mr. Chairman? May I have the floor? You own Chrysler Building, you helped have some hand, your ancestors had a hand.
The gentleman from Staten Island is recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner, Congressman, Senator, whoever you are. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to go back. I think our pasts are very important to all of us. History is very important. We should learn from history and be improved from history, be proud of history. And sometimes when we're not proud of it, learn from it. But history all the time is important. And I want to, this sport has been around longer than any other sport, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Senator, Mr. Congressman. It's been around longer than any other sport. So because of that, I think it is appropriate to go back to our childhoods and use a memory. Use something from our childhoods to present as another belt, as another champion, to evoke our memories of those days that was so important to us. So I propose here on this floor, in front of Congress, Senate, boxing, everybody, and most importantly, Ken Ryder, I propose that we go back and we create the Cracker Jack box champion, because I think Cracker Jacks were very important to all of us. When we used to be able to open up that box of caramel popcorn and not only enjoy that, but know that inside the box there was a prize. there was a prize that we all couldn't wait for. And we couldn't wait to get to the bottom of the box so that we could enjoy that prize. We could think and imagine what that prize could be. Could it be a merit badge? Could it be a sheriff's badge? Could it be Dick Tracy watch? One of those Dick Tracy watches. What could it be? And I propose that what it should be is another belt in our sport. The Cracker Jack belt.
Yo.
What do you think, Mr. Commissioner?
They'd be just as relevant as some of the belts that are being awarded when you start calling them the gold belt, the pearl belt, and all the other nonsense, the franchise champion.
And Ken, you know what you could do, the special part of this belt? Soon as you win it, you could eat it.
The thing with the belts is I love a title belt. There's nothing. It's like a Super Bowl ring to me. But when you water down your own franchise, when the WBC starts awarding interim and gold champions, you're basically diluting your own product. I love the WBC belt, but knowing that there's like 2 or 3 for every weight class minimizes or lessens the impact of that real title belt. It just takes away from what the guy who won that belt gets to appreciate. But yeah, and the WBC created a new 224-pound division recently. Cruiser is now up to 190. Rob's putting some breaking news on Boxing News 24, but it's just like it's becoming comical, and it's like I said, it just takes away from having the real belt. Imagine if the NFL had the Super Bowl, and then they had the gold Super Bowl champ to the guy who lost the NFC championship game. That guy, they're going to give them a different belt, a different ring. All of a sudden, no one cares about that ring, and that's how I feel about anything other than the top belt in each division.
And you know what the worst thing of all this is, in all seriousness now? The worst thing is we had a great fight. We had a really good fight.
Fantastic.
I know Cepeda and Barachek a couple of weeks ago, some people said was fight of the year. I proposed this one was fight of the year, Loma and Lopez. I'll tell you why. Higher level of talent. Higher level, yeah, it was a chess match, but it was a dangerous, pressure-filled chess match where you're on the edge of your seats, like watching one of those suspense movies, one of those thrillers where you're on the edge of your seat. Any second, something could happen. Really. A body could drop out of a closet or, whatever. But that was the suspense in this fight because of their skill levels and because of the way that it unfolded in front of us. So for me, it was fight of the year. Cepeda and Barachek was slugfest of the year, if you will, because it was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, really. And I'm taking nothing away from it.
No, that's a very good point. It wasn't as nearly as skillful.
And I salute them. I salute them for. Yeah, I salute them for everything that they showed that night. Their guts, their fortitude, their willingness to lay it on the line. But you had everything there for Lomachenko also and Lopez at a higher skill level. And it was good for boxing. And at the end of the day, what did we have to talk about? We talked about the fight. We broke it down. And again, both fighters performed like world champions. Behaved with honor. They really did. They displayed honor in their actions and their behavior. The judges dishonor. But at the end of the day, the worst thing about this, with everything that we just talked about, Ken, is that we had to spend time talking about this, about boxing once again with a glorious night, an important night, a night they needed so badly. A night where a 23-year-old kid became champion of the world in all the belts except for a few belts that they didn't tell you about. But for the most part, I mean, this guy performed great, Lopez, and Lomachenko showed why he's been so great, coming back like a racehorse down the stretch, with his heart beating in his chest and trying to get to that finish line, coming on strong, and taking a risk in traffic to go through all that traffic, everything that was there. And then at the end, Lopez puts his head out in front again in the 12th round and shows that I not only know how to fight like a champion and how to behave like a champion. So all of that, and I say it again, it's marvelous, great. And then boxing still gets a black eye. No, really.
Yeah.
It still
No,
gets
you're right.
how does boxing manage? I'm going to quote, because if people say things, I believe in quoting them. I actually believe in that. I believe that's part of your character, part of your responsibility. If somebody says something that's not an original thought of yours, you should quote them. You should credit them, reference them. So I'm going to credit the late, he was a friend too, and I miss him, the late, great Bert Sugar. Miss you, Bert. You brought something special to the sport when we needed it. A smile, a great wit, humor, and history. Your hat, your cigar, everything about you is still missed. And like he used to say, black boxing has given itself so many black eyes that it has no more eyes to blacken. and it's the Cyclops. It's made itself a Cyclops. That was Bert Sugar, the late great Bert Sugar, and it's true. If Bert's up there watching in his front row seat, with a cigar in his mouth and that hat on his head, he's saying thanks, Ted, thanks for quoting me.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect spot to quote me, Ted, because it's true. Once again, a great night. And what it is, boxing figures out a way to freaking screw it up and have you talk about something else too when you don't want to talk about something else too. But you have to if you're going to give the whole story. That great, what was his name? Paul Harvey. I remember riding in a car with my father, and he would have the stations on that were talk stations, talking about different things, whether it was what's going on in the world, the politics, just the community things, whatever, common, events, common events of the world. And we'd listen to this great, great guy on the news. His name was Paul Harvey, Ken. You might be too young. And he used to always say, and now, for the rest of the news. Paul Harvey, good day. and to me, it's I think about him. I hearken to him. That, okay, we talked about the great fight, and now for the rest of the news. Teddy Atlas, Ken Ryder, good day.
Well, to put a bow on that, I want to say again, congratulations to Teofimo Lopez, his dad, Joey Gamach. Incredible game plan. Great job by all. Congratulations to all the Brooklynites out there like Eric Hayes. They were on Lopez before the fight on social media. They were behind their guy. Congratulations to all of them. They deserved the victory. Well done. Fantastic fight, especially the back half of that fight. Lived up to all the hype. Incredible performance. Not much more you can say. One quick thing before we move on to the UFC, Teddy. What do you think? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Lopez struggling to make the weight at 135. I mean, if Jose
He's a
Ramirez
big guy. He's a big yes. guy. I'd be shocked at 23, where there's still filling out going on. At 23, if he could continue to make lightweight, I'd be shocked. But go ahead.
At 23 years old, squeezing himself down to 135. At 140, if Josh Taylor, Ramirez get it on, and one of them emerges with all the belts, and, whether they take another tune-up fight or stay busy fight, but if Lopez could ever move up and challenge the title holder of all the belts at 140, I could conceivably see him being, I don't know if anyone else has ever done this, but to have all the belts at lightweight and at junior welterweight and eventually move up to welter. But I think that there's the future is bright for Teofimo Lopez. If he fights like that, it's hard to make an argument that he couldn't potentially take all the belts at 140, maybe even 147 in time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, he's big. Can he move up? Yeah. Is he good? Yeah, he showed that. Is he more than just a puncher? Yeah. Does he have the other skill sets? Yeah. Did he pass the test? Yeah. Could he, maybe more importantly, because this is a business too, right? They don't risk themselves for nothing. They want to make something for themselves and their families, right? They get paid for it, just like football players do, going out on that football field, taking a risk. From a business standpoint, he could, if he does all that, Ken, and he's got Latino following that, they're so loyal, they're so, all the fan bases are good, but they are fans of boxing for a long time. They've shown it in history of this sport. And if he does all those things, he could be something else besides, pound for pound and, how many belts he has. He could something else that means more in some ways, or to his family, and to part of the reason why you do this. He could become the new pay-per-view king and replace Canelo, where he could become that guy. He could become the the guy that brings in the De Niro, the money, and on that level.
Guys, once again, shout out to our sponsor, PowerDot. Love this product. Promote circulation to help muscles recover quickly between fights and workouts. Like I said, rehab from injury, relief from pain. It's really an incredible product. You've got to just go online, check them out at powerdot.com/Atlas to take advantage of the code. But when you look at the site, it will really walk you through a lot of the benefits of the product. Additionally, I have it on now. Rob's going to cut to my, I use it on my calves after long runs especially. But you can see it here, how it stimulates the muscle. So it's actually working the muscle without putting load on the joints. And I can't say enough good things about it. It's comes with a convenient travel pack. I take it with me everywhere I go. Again, they're giving 20% off to all listeners with the code ATLAS. Do your body a favor and go to powerdot.com/Atlas and experience personalized muscle recovery, because it integrates with Strava and Apple Health. So if you use these apps already, it's a no-brainer in terms of your recovery. And as an additional bonus, we're going to give one in five customers that buy this product, we're going to refund your purchase price. So if you use the promo code ATLAS, buy the PowerDot unit, email us a receipt of your purchase at thefight@hithardmedia.com. Again, email us a copy of your receipt, thefight@hithardmedia.com, and we're going to refund one in every 5 customers that purchase this. So you're not only going to get 20% off your purchase price, you're also going to get a 20% chance to get the product for free. Again, go to powerdot.com/Atlas, ATLAS, 20% off and a 20% chance to get a free PowerDot unit. I think you'll like it. And if you don't, within 30 days, if you let us know, they'll refund your purchase price. No questions asked. Once again, powerdot.com/Atlas, ATLAS.
Before I close up, there was a lot made. They showed a piece before the fight about the father, and again, kudos to the father too. And congratulations, you believed in your son and you were proven to be right. But there was a lot made that 2 years ago that Loma had disrespected. I don't know if it was the father or the son. Where
the
he
father.
he didn't shake his hand, and and then the son took it as a personal affront because obviously he's going to have the back of his father, and so he took that personal as an affront to him. That he wouldn't shake his hand, or he didn't shake his hand appropriately, and kind of dismissive with him. And there's always a place in history with that kind of stuff. There is, Ken. And to our great fans, I want to just it opened up a memory to me where the great Carmen Basilio, he's not with us anymore, the late great, and the late greatest maybe, Sugar Ray Robinson. Basilio had talked about this, Ken, where tough guy, and where he was coming up, he was at a pretty good place, but he didn't get to the top. And the top guy was, of course, the great Sugar Ray Robinson, just like the great Lomachenko. And he was at a place where he saw him. And he was with his wife, and he said to his wife, I'm going to run over there, and I'm going to introduce myself to Ray Robinson. There's Sugar Ray Robinson over there. So he ran over, and he went to put his hand out and introduce himself to Sugar Ray Robinson. maybe the greatest fighter of all time. And Robinson, to use, back in those days, to use his words, Robinson gave him the old shove off. He gave him the push off. He kind of ignored him, and he was so upset, just like Lopez's father and Lopez himself. He was so upset. He went back to his wife, and he said, "I'm going to kick that guy's ass someday." Those were his words. I usually don't use that language. I go out of my way not to, but I thought that if I'm going to tell the story, it's not that bad that I can't use that word. But I'm going to kick that guy's butt someday. And and then he did. He got it. He did something very few people did. He beat the great Sugar Ray Robinson when he met him. He lost in the rematch. Everyone lost in the rematch to Sugar Ray Robinson because that's why he was Sugar Ray Robinson. He corrected something if you beat him the first time. But he fulfilled his words, his promise of what he had said. And to finish, they showed a piece that was a little unsettling. They showed a piece. Listen, you get caught up. It happens. It happens. You get caught up in the emotion. But you know how that old saying, when you have a drink, sometimes the truth comes out, Ken? Sometimes you're emotional, the truth comes out, And listen, I joke sometimes. I say, we are the CAT scan of podcasts in boxing. Mm-hmm. We're going to show it. We're going to show it all, Even the cartilage, the fiber, the tendons, the veins. We're going to show it. If it's there, we're going to show it because we don't have an agenda. We're not saying, "Oh, I got to be friends with this guy," or "I got to be enemies with this." No. I ain't trying to get on this or be friend. I just want to tell the people what's there to be told that they normally wouldn't maybe be able to hear. To give them more information. Information is power. It's important. Knowledge is power. It's important. And then at least you know what you're supposed to know. And so they did a piece where after he beat Comey, Lopez knocked out Comey, great win, explosive, wow, dynamic. He knocks him out. Aram, the promoter, Top Rank, goes in the ring. You saw it, right?
Of course.
Yeah, and he wasn't quite welcomed into that ring so nicely. Lopez basically said, "Get the F out of here," right to him. Get the F out of here. Get this effing guy off my stage. Get the F out.
It was actually funny to hear Aram almost groveling to him, like, "What are you doing? You're gonna F this whole fight up,"
He said, "Get the F out of here." No, but but his people they were responsible. I don't know if it was his father or his people in his corner, or whoever it was. Maybe it was his manager, Dave McWaters. He's a good man. He's a good guy. He's a responsible guy. I want to give him credit. I want to also give him credit for believing in this kid, and I want to congratulate him too. He is one of the good guys, I believe, in the sport, and there's not a million of them. So anyway, somebody grabbed a hold of Lopez at that moment. You could hear it. And they had captions up if you didn't hear it. And they grabbed a hold of him and he said, hey, stop. This guy's got to promote us. This guy's got to promote us. You can't talk that way. Stop. And he was like, I don't care. Get him the F off my stage. So I'm just saying that we look at the punches as the only thing you got to deal with and the only thing that presents danger and pain and risk and takes away from you, where, as I've said for years, Ken, a fighter goes in the ring, he leaves with less of himself, or the risk of leaving with less of himself. Other people, it's their own choice. They're not getting hit, but they leave with less of themselves too. Here's a guy who's been a great promoter, and yet he allows himself to be talked to that way. For me, there's no money that's worth the loss of dignity.
I agree.
There's no, those commercials you used to see in the baseball fields where the guy's going up, the price of a hot dog, the price of this, the price of a ticket, and then at the end it says, and then to be with your kid at the game. Priceless.
American Express.
Yeah, priceless. Well, that's how I look at this. The price to have your dignity, priceless. I don't care how many millions of dollars, and I know Aram's got millions and millions and millions, and then he earned it. But I don't care how many millions you have. The price of dignity, priceless. And so what I'm saying is, even he's lost something. To be that promoter, to be that guy, to do all that. And I know no one else is pointing it out, and that's why I am pointing it out. That there's people losing and gaining all the time in life. And it's your choice what is worth it. What is truly priceless. And for me, you saw a glimpse of that you normally don't see. And credit to ESPN for being that candid and being that, to be that that honest about it and that transparent about it. Really. To see that, with all the things that this promoter, Hall of Fame promoter, has gained, he loses and has lost a piece of himself too. Whether or not he registers it the way I do, and the way millions of people out there do, and thousands of people, and thank you for being there, that watch our show, do. But he loses something too, with everything that he's gained. And it's just, to me, a lesson to people. What are you gaining? What are you losing? What is the price? There's always a price for everything.
Yeah. And that priceless commercial was actually MasterCard, not American Express. But you're right. There was a lot of plots and subplots in that fight. And unless you've got anything else, I want to transition and just talk about
that's it. The last thing is what I think we broke it all down, all of it. And hopefully the people enjoy and appreciate what we're trying to do. I hope so. Yeah. Lopez went there to be a world champion. He was ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, technically. He was in great shape. He was a champion, and he became a champion. He went in there figuring he was going to be it, and doing what he had to do to be it. He showed hand speed. He showed power. He showed timing ability, countering ability to control range. Much more than just a puncher. Much more than just a big banger. And then at the end, the best part was when he got tested after losing those rounds that I thought he lost going down the stretch. In the 12th round, what did he do? He pulled his boots up a little bit, the bootstraps up a little bit, and he said, damn it, I will go out there in this 12th round, and I will be a champion. And he did. And even though he didn't need it, in his mind he needed it, even though he didn't need it on the scorecards, and he behaved like a champion. And Lomachenko behaved like a guy that had been, up to that point, number one pound for pound in the world. He behaved like that, didn't disappoint. Neither guy disappointed. Great night. The only people that disappointed were those judges. And that's it.
Yep. Again, congratulations to Lopez, his team, and all the Brooklyn super fans out there. Crooklyn has all the belts now. Let's transition now to UFC very quickly, and I want to just get your thoughts on the main event. Brian Ortega against the Korean Zombie. Brian Ortega, huge credit to him. Last time out against Max Holloway, he got tuned up. I mean, he just got outclassed in every way against Holloway, and prior to that fight, he looked like a world beater. I thought he was going to beat Max Holloway, but credit to him. He revamped his team, came back out against the Korean Zombie, who's also a grappler, Brian Ortega, black belt in jiu-jitsu under one of the Gracies. A real killer on the ground, and he just stood there and boxed the Korean Zombie's ears in. He really put on a masterclass in striking, so credit to Brian Ortega. But, Teddy, I'd like to hear what you thought of the fight and his striking.
You know what? They put on consistently good shows. They really do. Competitive shows where underdogs win. It was funny when that fight ended. Then UFC was smart. They put it early. They didn't try to mess around with going up against, making you make a choice between that or Lomachenko and Lopez. So they put it on early, and it was funny when the underdog, and he was the underdog, when he won. I said to myself, sometimes it could be an omen. It could be something in the air that maybe the underdog's going to win the big fight tonight in boxing too. I was just thinking that, and I should have called my bookie when I was thinking that, to be honest with you. But underdogs win more in UFC than they do in boxing, and that's one of the things that makes for great theater. And you always have great theater in boxing when it's the right fight, but you get a lot of that in the UFC. And the zombie got treated like a zombie. I mean, to me, I talk a lot of times about a fight being where you want to be the ocean, Ken, where you want to control things, where you make your opponent the log. Well, for me, that's what, and I tweeted this during the night, that's what happened, where Ortega became the ocean, and he treated the zombie like a log, where he pushed and he pulled, but he was in control. He pushed for purpose and he pulled for purpose. And he switches stances, orthodox, southpaw. He was very smart. I always talk about the top guys. You can't be just tough. All the fighters are tough. All UFC fighters are tough. It's a prerequisite to be in that business. But you got to be smart too, and the top guys are smart and a little smarter. And he was smarter. He was more versatile. He was more well-rounded, he being Ortega that night. And I give him all the credit in the world, and I recognize it. And I want to always recognize those things because it's a lot more than just going in there and throwing kicks and throwing punches. You got to throw those kicks at the right time. You throw it at the wrong time, the guy catches it, and he counters you, or if you throw the wrong kind of kick, like we saw a few weeks ago, that image, that replay, that video that went viral in UFC. The guy caught the kick, and then what did the guy that had thrown the kick do? He spins around with a back kick, and he knocks the guy cold. So you don't just throw kicks. You don't just throw punches. You got to throw intelligent kicks, right time kicks, right time punches. And Ortega did all of that. Ortega switched early to southpaw. He saw that it worked for him. He used his legs. He was more versatile, more dimensional, if you will, than the zombie. He kept him off balance on the outside. He understood the outside was his domain, or it should be his domain. He moved, used his legs well, even though he got his leg kicked a little bit and it was red. He had the discipline to push that away. He used his legs. He moved. He used that jab beautifully, that southpaw jab, Ken. Every time that the zombie tried to mount some kind of offense and get something going and get control of the fight again, or the rhythm of the fight, he didn't let him. He used that jab to disrupt that rhythm, to gain that rhythm and control himself of him on his side. Once again, he picked spots to pot shot. He pushed forward. He pulled back to counter. He went in to show the takedown move, to grab his body, his legs, zombie's legs, to take him down. Even when he didn't take him down, he did it for the purpose of keeping him off balance, showing him different dimensions, not being predictable. It worked. It worked. It was a great fight plan. Terrific. As I said, he controlled distance. What else notes do I have here? There was one time he won every round for me. In the fifth round, there was a spot where the zombie started looking with his aggression, because that's all he could be at that point, looking to see if he could catch Ortega, who fought a almost flawless fight, make a mistake. And the one mistake he made, but he didn't pay for it, and he should correct this. Not that I know about striking, so I'm and not that your trainer don't tell you, because I'm sure he did. Fighters don't listen sometimes. They forget. But what you should do, Ortega, the only thing I saw you could do better, and you almost paid a price for it in the fifth round when the zombie was desperate and he was putting a lot of pressure on, coming on. He had no choice. He was trying to win, trying to pull it out of the fire, where you went straight back more than one step at a time. When you go back, you should go back for a purpose, to make the guy miss and counter. But then you should get off that track, so to speak. Just like you don't want to be on a track if a train's coming at you. You want to get off that track, get to the side. He went straight back, Ortega, in the last round, 2 or 3 in a row. So the guy comes at you, he misses, and then you go back again. You don't counter. You go back again, and now he catches you, or he could catch you, because you're still on that track. You should not go back 2 or 3 steps in a row. One, and that's it. And then counter or get off the track. He went back, Ortega, in the last round 2 or 3 steps in a row, and guess what? The zombie was right on it. He was following up with combinations after the first combination, hoping to catch him, and he almost did. To his credit, Ortega had his hands up, and he blocked it, but he came really close to pulling it out of the fire. That's the only thing I could see to be corrected. He fought a magnificent fight. I made a note to myself at the end of the night. Ortega, skill, intelligence, wrapped up with discipline all night long. And that's it. He showed again how guys can put themselves up front and go from an underdog to the winner, and probably a favorite the next time he gets in there.
The next time after the fight, they said he's in line for the next title shot against Volkanovski.
Well, that's one way.
Adesanya's stablemate. So
that's going to be a tough. That's going to be a good fight, a tough one.
Definitely.
The way I would look at that, Ken, to break it down in my mind quick, Volkanovski's strong. He's like a linebacker in football, like a fullback in football. Long, strong, well coached, low center of gravity, strong son of a gun. He's going to come forward, going to mix it up a little bit, but he's going to look to do power stuff. And I would say that to win that fight, Ortega's going to have to, in some ways, duplicate what he just did. Keep Volkanovski off balance, use his legs, push and pull a little bit.
Yeah, and we've got some good stuff coming up. So that was a fun episode, Teddy. Thank you. Congratulations again to Lopez and his team. But coming up, just as a reminder, and we'll have a lot more content coming up because, just on so next week we've got a big one in the UFC. We got Gaethje and Khabib in the main event. But then the following week, yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Wow.
And also coming up, boxing on nothing big until for 2 weeks, but on Halloween, on October 31st, we got the Monster Inoue against Jason Maloney. Same night, we've got Usyk against Derek Chisora, and we got Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz, which unfortunately I don't think a lot of people are going to see with a pay-per-view event the same night as those other fights on premium but not pay-per-view channels. So lots of stuff to cover coming up. Like I said, we could probably do a preview show on most of those fights as standalone events. But I just want to say thanks, Teddy, for doing this. This was a fun episode. Great night for boxing on Saturday. Tons of good stuff coming up with the UFC and boxing. Almost every weekend we've got something to get excited about. And we'll be covering everything extensively. Appreciate all the support from everyone. You got anything to add, Teddy, before we sign off?
Congratulations, I've said it already, to Lopez and Lomachenko for their behavior, for their efforts, for their heart, their skills, everything that they put on exhibit for us, for all the fans. Lopez, 23-year-old champion, the world is yours. Everything's in front of you now. Again, congratulations to your father, to everybody, to Dave McWaters, to manager, Joey Gamache, everybody, and again, to Lomachenko, I'm sure you're going to come back, whatever your decision is. Thank you for everything that you give all of us every time you get in that ring. Your effort, again, proved down the stretch of why you were so respected as a great fighter. And again, Lopez, your effort and your skills and everything you did gave you the right to now be the only lightweight champion in the world. Even if the organizations get it wrong, we get it right over here. For us, you are the lightweight champion of the world.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for being with us. Please, if you don't mind, take a minute, leave us a review, share the links. It's all greatly appreciated, and looking forward to the coming weeks and months in the combat sports arena. Thanks for being with us.